And now I'm also going to invite for our first session to join Clare on stage. We've got Jen Easterly, who is the Director of Cybersecurity and the Infrastructure Security Agency.
Yay. We should share this, Jen.
Oh, yes, fantastic.
So thank you so much to both of you for being here. My first question, actually, I'm going to put to you, Clare. I want to say it's brilliant that you're here in this first session, and looking ahead at the agenda, it's really notable to me. You're going to end the day as well with Harry Coker, who is the National Cyber Director at the White House. So I just wondered, what's the significance of having that connection with cyber, and is that a theme that you really want to stress throughout the day?
Thanks, Siobhan. It's an absolute theme, I think, for all of us that are working in this ecosystem. Every single day we are being attacked by adversaries, nation-state adversaries, but also accidental adversaries, people that are putting up websites that are intercepting Americans, getting them to enter their social security number and try and buy a service, because we sometimes are not meeting their needs. And so since the administration began with Executive Order 14028 on enhancing our nation's cybersecurity, it has been top of mind for everything we do. And out of Krista Russia, who is our federal CISO, out of my office, we can't do this work without the partnership and team building across the ecosystem, from Jen's team at CISA, our DHS colleagues, our National Cyber Director colleagues. It is absolutely essential that we work together and partner and share information and share technology, and sometimes we share talent between our teams to make us more resilient and better able to meet the needs of today.
Thanks, Clare. So building on that, Jen, there's been lots of developments in cyber across the federal government, and CISA itself was established in 2018, but other departments and agencies have their own kind of cyber units as well. So could you just explain to me and to the audience a little bit about CISA's role within that broader cyber ecosystem?
Sure, and it's great to be here, particularly with my great teammate and friend, Clare. So as you said, CISA, created in 2018, the newest agency in the federal government. We were stood up to play two key roles: to serve as America's civilian cyber defense agency and as the national coordinator for critical infrastructure security and resilience. So the mission is to lead the national effort to understand, manage, and reduce risk to the cyber and physical infrastructure that Americans rely on every day. And to your point about breaking down silos and working across departments and nations and industries, the vast majority of our critical infrastructure is, of course, owned and operated by the private sector. So what we do is really by, with, and through partners, and building that connective tissue, in particular with your office, really has helped us fulfill our role as the federal lead for cybersecurity. And I have to say, from when we both came on board in 2021, shortly after the SolarWinds intrusion, we have made incredible progress specific to cyber defense, and that's CISA's key role. We work across the entire government, but really at the end of the day, we are helping departments and agencies defend themselves. And from a best practices perspective, there's a lot that we've learned over the past 3 years in terms of how we can actually manage the 101 departments and agencies across the federal civilian executive branch as an enterprise, through the deployment of endpoint detection and response capabilities, through having an ability to proactively hunt for threats so we can mitigate them, using things like protective domain name systems so we can block those malicious connections to websites. So working together, we have really advanced the ball. Obviously more work to do, but at the end of the day, in our role as the cyber defender and working closely with you and your team, I think we have been able to make significant progress, and I'm really looking forward to more progress to come.
So it's nice to hear you two obviously get on a personal level, but professionally as well. And so, Clare, responding to what Jen said, how do you see that relationship between your two specific organizations, and where would you like it to evolve over the coming years?
Yeah, the Office of the Federal CIO is doing policy and oversight for the federal ecosystem. So we can't do that work without being informed. We can't do that work. We have coined a phrase, human-centered policy design, where we have been trying to focus.
I've got a clap from the audience there.
Yay, Sam, yay, policy. We could do this work where we could sit in our lovely offices and say, thou shalt do these things, all of your agencies, all of your programs, and set the bar high, but not give you the resources that you need to do that, not make sure that we're advocating for funding in OMB. So what we have done is we have tried to put out our policies to our stakeholder community, which is most of you, to ask for feedback, to make sure that we're writing policies that are meeting the threat vectors that we're dealing with, but also that give us the opportunity to help you implement effectively in the agencies that you run. And that is a partnership, because we have our team at CISA doing the groundwork and the vigilance on a daily basis, and we are doing the policy work and then the oversight to make sure that we're supporting agencies, helping get budgets, making sure that you have the right workforce in place, and that the policies are understood internally at agencies so that we can meet the moment.
And I think what comes out there, as you say, that theme of partnership working, I mentioned it at the start, we can't meet these challenges alone. I think when it comes to transformation, digital transformation, cyber, it's all about working together. That was going to be a theme, I think, coming out of today. And Jen, just standing back a little bit then, so not so much maybe the internal kind of relationships, but could you also just give us a bit of an overview of the sense of what the threat landscape is actually like at the moment?
Well, certainly it is complex, it is dynamic. We have seen an evolution in capability and sophistication and resourcing of nation-state adversaries like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. We've seen this proliferation of cyber criminals who are in some cases given safe haven by nation-state adversaries. And, frankly, this is something that is not going to get any better. And so what I think we need to do is figure out a way to catalyze a sustainable approach to cybersecurity where we stay ahead of the threat actors instead of always trying to catch up. And I think some of the work that we're doing actually really helps with that. In June, the software attestation form that we worked on with you is going to go out, and that's another thing that I would recommend all of our partners look at, which is essentially the baseline cybersecurity standards for software vendors to the government. And that's a very powerful thing that you have as a government, is the procurement power. And so being able to nudge that in a way where you mandate security standards, that's incredibly important. And it's consonant with work that we've been doing, which is all about secure by design technology. And it really goes to the original point. You can build, you can operate, you can maintain, but if you're not securing, at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to operate effectively. And so these ways of ensuring that companies and governments and application developers are always prioritizing security by design. I love that human-centered design. I just met a design person over there. I love that. So, but you have to have security by design, because if you have security by design, you naturally have resilience by design. And for something like the government services that all Americans rely upon, you have to have an ability to continue to operate that even in the face of data theft and disruption, frankly. And that's what we're seeing from adversaries. They're not just focused on espionage, they actually are focused on disrupting, and in some cases, corrupting and destroying our networks. And so that's why security and the emphasis and the prioritization and the partnership is so absolutely critical.
Brilliant. And I think that, again, is going to be one topic coming out of today, is we've had human-centered by design, secure by design, is as we build new things, let's not make mistakes we've made in the past. Yeah. Let's make sure we consider all of this right up front. I know, Jen, that you absolutely have to leave on time, so I'm just going to maybe put to both of you really one final question, which is for this audience, I say we've got fantastic public servants in the room here today. If there was one thing that you would want them to take away from today when it comes to security, when they're thinking about security and cyber, what might that one thing be? It could be something maybe in their own. Are they doing the fundamentals themselves? Or kind of what should they be thinking about?
I mean, it's so hard to say one thing, right? If I had to say one thing, I'd say enable MFA. But broadly,
just direct them to a website and read all of this.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a bunch of different things, but it comes down to partnership. Because you have to have that operational collaboration, you have to have that partnership. So, because the threat environment and the operational environment, the technology environment is so complex these days, the visibility will come from what we can create with our partners. Whether it's the partners within the federal government, partners with industry, partners at the state and local level, our critical international partners. We have relationships with over 150 cyber defense teams around the world. That visibility is critical. And so at the end of the day, really focusing on the point that Siobhan made at the front about breaking down those silos and then creating the security by design through trusted partnerships, I think is the way to go.
That's hard to beat, to add to that. I'd say I am incredibly proud of all of you, right? And the work that you all do every single day, helping us design these systems and services that are secure, and being vigilant and working together. You know, it's easy to say, it's just a website. Right? It's just a website. I'm not worried about it. But that website is riding on a network, and that backbone is connected to a lot of other components in our government. And so we were really thoughtful in trying to design the opportunity for you all to hear from our international partners about the journeys that they have gone on. Some nations are incredibly small, but incredibly advanced digitally, and some other nations are on the journey like many of us are. So I would just say, update your security settings all the time, enable MFA, do all the basic cyber hygiene that is necessary, and invite your cyber colleagues into your conversations. Don't expect that that is something that should happen right before we get the ATO and we launch something. Have those members on the team from the beginning. I have never in the private sector not had security engineers on my product teams. So I think that there are things that we can learn from the private sector, and many of you that are already doing this really efficiently in government. So I am incredibly inspired by all of you and hope you can learn from our international partners today on this journey. And cannot thank Jen and the entire CISA team enough for the partnership and the dedication to keeping us safe and secure.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I mean, what a fantastic way to set the scene for today. I mean, I'm taking away from this, I think, things that will run throughout the day. So all of you are making a difference. That's the big thing to say. You're all making a difference to people's lives. The work that you do really can make people's lives better. But the way you do it can also potentially open up the government to some vulnerabilities. So make sure we all work together, we collaborate with the best of the best around the world in the public sector, but also across the private and the public sectors, and thinking about security as you do your transformation projects, just thinking about designing in security from the start. And work with professions, other different professions, build those kind of multi-professional teams. Please join me. I know I said we will take questions, but unfortunately Jen has to leave. She's got another very, very urgent thing here in Washington. So we will be taking questions in a lot of other sessions. And I know, Claire, you will be around throughout the day, and we'll be coming back on stage at the end of the day. But please join me in a very warm welcome to Claire and to Jen. Thank you so much, both of you. Jen, thank you so much. Lovely to meet you.